Stay away from that, Ed. Okay. All right, let me start this over. Vanessa Orren, that's the disappearance for this Friday. It's going to be called Losing Touch because over time, she just stopped communicating with her family in the Labarge area and elsewhere. She disappeared from Labarge, Wyoming. It is believed sometime in March of 2016. And the guest for this episode will be her sister, Tinker Lynch. Of course, that's not her real name, but that's what she goes by, Tinker Lynch. And it's the episode called Losing Touch. So it was one of these things where Vanessa had this new guy in her life. His name is Pete. And just over time, gradually, she stopped talking to her family. People would see her around town with him, but that's about it. And then all of a sudden, kind of like in April of 2016, Pete shows up by himself. It's somewhere in town, and he's starting to tell people, Vanessa took off with a couple guys and never came back. So already we're thinking, well, this is another one of those. Well, she took off, and I just don't know where she went. And we know what we think of those disappearances. And I know all of you are going to be very suspicious of Pete for good reason. The problem, though, is that in 2018, a man came forward, not Pete, but some other guy came forward admitting that he had found Vanessa's day planner. So it was like a book with like addresses and phone numbers and everything in it. He found it on his property, but for some reason he held on to it for a year before he turned it in, and has never offered any explanation, even though he knew Vanessa. In fact, he and Vanessa knew each other. He knew she was missing. Found this book allegedly on his property in a pond, of all things, and you'll hear the entire story in the interview. And never offered up a good explanation on why, when he found it, he just didn't turn it right in, being that he knew she was missing. So this disappearance isn't as clear-cut as it would seem. It certainly does sound like one of those, well, she just up and left, and I don't know what happened, but then you add in that, you add in a couple other things, and I think we need to at least be a little open-minded on this one, even though it kind of feels like a certain type of disappearance. So once again, Vanessa Orren, Orren, disappeared from Labarge, Wyoming. It is believed in March 2016. The guest will be her sister, Tinker Lynch. And the title is called Losing Touch because, once again, over time, she lost touch with those people who cared about her most. And that might have been the reason that people didn't realize she was missing until months later. Sheree, it certainly is suspicious. I agree. But those are the facts. But that's about it. Another great show tonight. I love it. So what did we do tonight? Talked about disc golf, this tourney this weekend. Talked about these pelicans, like 100 of them being out here in the water right by my place. I showed you the new hats. Let's see how this looks. With the long hair, it's a little, there you go. Looks good. I'll probably, when I play, I kind of get my hair back out of my face, but there we go. Talked about the Esther Westenbarger poll. Talked about Erica Lloyd. Just kind of described what the next so many weeks are going to be as far as episodes coming out on Fridays, along with an Andrea Bowman in memoriam episode somewhere mixed in. Talked about On the Ground. Talked about Chris Turner, Layla Cavett, bones in the boot case from the Mississippi River, how that's been solved. Talked about Mary Lane Carter, how she is missing. Talked about Hillsborough County with their new podcast. Took a bunch of great questions. Got some contributions from some of you with the super chat tonight. Thank you. Got a lot of likes for the video tonight. Thank you very much for that. And we finished up, as we always do, with this Friday's disappearance, the disappearance of Vanessa Orren. And that is on the Charlie Project, and that is on Namus, if you'd like to check that out. Now we've been posting some pictures as well tonight and tomorrow on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. So be looking for those regarding this disappearance. Good night, everyone. Thank you. I know we have some new viewers tonight. Thank you for making some time on your Wednesday night for the Unfound Live Show. Really appreciate it. Love to see new people in here. So good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Cannot thank you. Thank you for all the support of myself and my assistants. Good night.